Hi everyone, welcome to a new pronunciation video. In this video we are going to look at 10 more words which people often mispronounce. I've put timestamps in the description box below so you can switch to a particular word if you know there's a word that you have some doubts about. And besides that, it would be great if you could put in the comments section below the words that you find difficult to pronounce, and I'd love to include those in a future video. So if you're ready, let's take a look at the first word, and this one is quite tricky actually, even for native speakers, because there are a couple of acceptable pronunciations, and they are vulnerable and vulnerable. So you can see the L can be sounded, it's quite a soft L, or it can be dropped. And also that first E, it can be a very weak schwa, or again, it can be a dropped syllable. Okay, so but both of those pronunciations are correct in British English. Let's have a look at the example. The charity was set up to help vulnerable adults. The charity was set up to help vulnerable adults. Vulnerable. If you don't know what vulnerable means, it means able to be hurt or affected, influenced easily. So, for example, the elderly and the people with pre-existing health conditions have been the most vulnerable during the COVID pandemic. Yeah, they are most able to be easily hurt by it. This next one is incredibly tricky, and almost everybody has mispronounced this at some point because of the silent letters. You probably don't need the A, and you definitely don't need the S, but of course it's there. So this is pronounced aisle, aisle. And let's take a look at the example. You'll find the cereals in aisle 16. Remember, aisle is basically a passageway or a corridor, and the most common times you'll see it is on a plane, the gap between the seats, and in the supermarket for the rows of shelves where you walk with your trolley. That's an aisle as well. This next word is also really commonly mispronounced, and it has a silent P, which is where it catches most people. In British English, it's pronounced pneumonia. I think in American English, they would tend to say pneumonia rather than pneumonia. So pneumonia. If you're not sure what it is, it's a life-threatening lung infection. So of course, with the pandemic, you tend to hear this kind of word, this kind of terminology more often. Let's look at the example. Sadly, she died of pneumonia in hospital. Right, so that is pneumonia. Let's take a look at number 4. And number 4 is launch. Launch. And a launch is the beginning of something, the start of something. So it can be like a rocket launch when it goes up into the sky, or it could be something like the launch of a new app or a new product. And that's kind of what this example looks at here. So we are going to launch a new product early next year. So this means we are going to start or offer a new product early next year. Number 5 is most often mispronounced by my Spanish speakers, but maybe if you have a strong R in your first language, then you might also find this tricky to pronounce. So it often comes out something like purpose or purpose, and that's much more tricky to say, I think, than how it's actually pronounced, and it should be purpose, purpose. This is the same for all of those words that start with per, like purple as well. That's often mispronounced. So yeah, this is purpose, and of course a purpose is what something is meant to do. In this example, it says, the purpose of this presentation is to keep you informed about our latest updates. The purpose. The 6th word has one of those horrible silent letters. The silent letter is the B, so you completely ignore it and you should pronounce it subtle. Subtle. So subtle means not obvious, not loud, something discreet and that's not in your face. And in this example, we can see that it says, if you look closely, you will see there is a subtle difference between the two pictures. With word number 7, there's often 2 sounds that cause problems. Firstly, it's the j at the beginning and the us at the end, which many people will say like oos. And in this case, it's not oos, it's us. So it's actually pronounced jealous, jealous. So j jealous. And the example says, he was exceptionally jealous of his friend when they were younger because he had more toys than him. Number 8 comes from French, which is why it has a little French sound to it. I'm not going to pretend we say it with a perfect French accent, but you can hear the French influence. So it's entrepreneur, which is someone who starts a business and sometimes takes a lot of risk, but hopefully will get a lot of reward from taking that risk. And they take most of that risk on their own. Here's an example. She became an entrepreneur after she left her corporate job. She became an entrepreneur. Number 9 is athlete. Athlete. It's confusing because the noun for the activity is athletics, but the person who does athletics is an athlete. Here it is in context. He has all the signs of a promising young athlete. I think he'll compete at the next Olympic Games. And the last word that I have for you today is endeavour. And if I remember correctly, one of my subscribers asked for the pronunciation of this word, and I think she asked for me to do it in an American accent. I'm not great with the American accent, but to contrast, the main difference would be at the end of the word. The Americans would sound that R, so it would probably sound something like endeavour, endeavour, and in British English, endeavour. Okay, so I hope you can hear the difference, especially in the R sound at the end. And like that, subscribe. But if you have any requests for any words, then please leave it in the comments below and I'll be sure to include it in a future video. But before that, let's take a look at endeavour in its contextual sentence. She endeavoured to solve the problem as quickly as possible. So based on that context, you can probably work out that endeavour means to make a special or a particular effort. And that's it. That is all of the 10 words that I have for you today. As I said before, please leave a comment in the section below with any words you would like me to include in a future video. Also, let us know which words you found tricky to pronounce in the past and which you can now pronounce perfectly. That's it for today. Thanks again for watching and come back soon. Bye.